Hello everyone. Uh, the topic that we will be starting today is EC2. We will be covering few of the topics on EC2, and EC2 basically is for Elastic Compute Cloud, or you can call it is a kind of a virtual machine that is available on the remote server, which can be on AWS cloud. Now you can find most of the services that are available here, but when you are looking for EC2 or an exclusive service, you can type it here. You can see the name of the service here, or you can search it from many of the services that are available here. So this is part of compute, and if you click on compute, you will come to EC2. Now if I click on EC2, this is the menu that I'll get. Now this is quite a detailed menu, and on the menu on the left side you have got a global view, events, tags, limits, types of instances, we'll discuss about it shortly, types of images, we'll be talking about it, various kind of volumes. So usually we use block storage for EC2 instances, but we'll talk about various kind of storage services, and network and security, load balancing, and auto scaling. So this is all part of which we can do with a system that we have created. Now this is the dashboard that you will see. It has got all the current information that is available here, then any regions or zones. So I'm currently working in US region, which is North Virginia. I prefer using US East 1 or US East 2 because these two regions have got basically most of the US regions have got most of the services, but US East 1 has definitely got any of the services that are available on Amazon or AWS cloud services. Now if we go to EC2 global view, it is going to give a preview of how various global services are, how many regions are enabled, how many subnets are there in those regions, how many VPCs are there, security groups. So we are going to do a separate video on VPC and separate video on security groups because it's quite a elaborative subject. Now going back to our EC2 services, so if I go back here and type EC2, look for the services, or go to the dashboard. So, and these are the events, tags, limits, etc. So currently I have got a limit of 200 instances that I can create. So every computer or a virtual machine that you create is called as an instance. And this is the limit for auto scaling, etc. So this is currently that is limit provided to my account. Every individual can have separate limits for their accounts. Now starting with the launching of the machine, when we create an instance, so or a EC2 machine, we usually launch a kind of a Windows machine or a Linux machine or a Unix machine or a Mac machine or a specialized kind of machine. And whatever services that we will be using will be default services. So we are not going to create any exclusive VPC here, any exclusive security groups here, any exclusive tags or anything that we are going to associate. So we'll use by default, and we'll click on launch instance. And now here we will give some name. So I'll give a name of my Linux. And here you can choose it from. Either you can have a Amazon Linux, a Mac, or a Ubuntu Linux or a Windows or a Red Hat or SUSE or Debian or whatever you want, you can choose from many or the hundreds of the available types of services that are available. Then there are marketplace also, or if you want only Linux or Unix, or you want only free, which are available for free. So we will be using some of the free services. So free tier means basically they are available to be used for free. So I'll go back to launch an instance and I'll select by default launch instance, and I'm going to call it as my Linux. Select on AWS. Default, it's going to be a T2 micro because T2 micro is free tier eligible, so I'm going to use a free one. We'll talk about this free tier and paid services shortly once we go and proceed with on EC2 instances. Any key pair that you would like to use, so I'm going to create a new key pair because key pair is required for us to launch the machine. So it's a public key and a private key. So I'm going to create a new key pair and I'll call it as lin key. That's going to be of type RSA and we will use .pem. Now PPK is basically people who use Windows machine, and from Windows they want to launch the Linux instance. We will be doing a separate lecture on this, how to launch from a PPK, but currently I'm going to use PEM, which is because I'm using a Mac machine, and I'm going to show you how to launch it quickly on a PEM filter. I'm going to create it and it is saved. Now I'm going to use either you create a security group or you use a default security group. So basically I'm going to use a default VPC, so I don't have any network information, I don't have any VPC, I don't have any information, so I'm going to click on edit. So VPC, we don't have any, we need to create a VPC. So to create a VPC, what you are going to do is you are going to click on this and a separate tab is open which has got VPC. Now we don't have a VPC. We'll be using everything by default. So VPC here means virtual private cloud. I click on my VPC and I'm going to create action, create default VPC, and it has created. So I've done nothing. I've just clicked on create a default VPC and this is the ID of my VPC. So every device or every product will have a unique ID for every services that is launched here. So like VPC has got subnets, route tables, internet gateways, carrier gateway. We'll talk about all these things in detail shortly in a couple of videos later. So I'm here, I click here, I click refresh. So now I see that my VPC has come in the region. So it's a default one. It has got a range of addresses of 172.31 and up to 16 CIDR blocks. So we'll be talking about what does 16 means, what does CIDR block means in future videos. Subnets, so either you create a new subnet or we can use a default subnet. So I'm going to use 1A, or if you don't want to use any, you can say no preference, let it create in any subnet. So subnet means any region. So like we have North Virginia, we have got 6 regions here. 1, 2, 3, oh sorry, not regions, sorry, apologies, zones. So it can be, it has got 6 zones within this region of North Virginia. So A, B, C, D, E, F, 6 zones like this, and everybody will have a different set of IP addresses, which you can see it here. And you have got maximum is 192.168.80, and I'm going to assign a public IP address, and I'm going to use the default security group, which will definitely be there, which is default, which is created by the VPC, or you can create your own. So I'm going to use it, and I am just not going to go into any kind of details here. I'll just leave everything by default, and I'm just going to click on launch instance. So what I have shown you here is that we are creating a machine with default information. So that default is your VPC, your default is your security group, and default is your system. And now we have come up with a public IP address. So if you click on this, you have all the information that is available here. So this is the public IP address, and this is the private IP address, and it is created in your region, which will be shown somewhere. Just a second. Public IP address. It should be somewhere here. They keep on. Security, networking. Yeah, US East 1E. Here you see, this is your availability zone. So it has taken out of the 6.1, it has chosen by default. So wherever the system was available, it has chosen it. By default, storage we will get of 8 GB because it's a Linux machine. If it would have been a Windows machine, we would got a storage of 30 GB. Status check, monitoring. This is various graphs that are generated. We'll talk about all these things in detail. And tags. So currently the name tag is my Linux. You can add as many tags as you want. I think the limit is up to 50. So this is our machine, and now it is up and ready. To run this machine, I just need to now what I do here is I'll click on this window in your Mac machines or your Linux machines. You open your terminal and you will have your terminal here. Now once your terminal is here, I'll just increase the size so everybody can see it. So this is your terminal window, and clear. And I've copied the file on desktop. So if I go on desktop, here it is, ls-l lin star. So here it is, we have linkey.pem, and the permission is read, write, read and read. We don't want any permissions. We only want the owner of the machine. The key should be only able to read it. Nobody should be able to read it, whether it is user or it is groups. So in case if you are aware, we have got 3 permissions here is owner, group and user. So this is owner, group, user. So I'm going to say sudo, which is for super user, chmod, which is change mode. I want 400, which gives only read permissions to the owner, and the name of the file is linkey.pem. And if I click on ls-l lin k star, now you see that the permission has only changed to read. It is needed to run this program. Now what I do here is I click on and I write the IP address. To execute or run this, we need to ensure that we are able to communicate with the server. Now this is a Linux machine, and Linux machine usually communicates using port number 22. Now, when I say port number 22, I mean to say that we are going to run into the secure shell. Now, to connect to the instance using the secure shell, either we can use terminal or we can simply click on connect. If we click on connect, one of the way is to connect using EC2 Connect or using SSH client. So if I use SSH client, it is going to be this command. I'll tell you what do you mean by this. So if I try to connect with EC2 Connect, this is a direct connect. So here you are connected to the machine. This is the name of the machine. So it is showing because it is not set up correctly. I wanted to show you this error. Why this error is coming? Because we don't have the respective entries that can connect with the machine. So if I go to security group, if I go to inbound rules, by default if we click on inbound rules or outbound rules, by default everything is not, or by default nothing is allowed, nothing is enabled. We need to enable it. So if I click on here, we have given all traffic allowed, but I'll show you more detail about it. So I'm going to remove it and I'm going to say traffic coming from anywhere on port number 22, source is anywhere, just allow it. So we are going to allow any kind of traffic that is coming. See, here it is SSH traffic. So it's only secure shell. If we are going to allow SMTP traffic, it is going to be for transfer protocol. If you are going to allow POP3, only POP3. If you are going to allow HTTP, it will be on port number 80. So every system to be communicated, whether it is Windows, then it needs to be on RDP port. That is port number 3389. Then we have got database connectivity port. If we want, we can connect it. So this is your database. Every port gets connected to by default. So currently we are wanting to connect to port number 22 and traffic coming from anywhere, and I click on save and it is done. If I go to EC2 dashboard, click on instance running. So this is the instance that is running. I click on connect again and I click on connect. Let's see what happens now. Here it is. You are connected to the Linux instance. So this is a quick way to connect. The quickest way to connect is using EC2 Connect. And you see, this is your public IP address. This is the IP address that has come up from here. It is .248.205.248.205, and the public IP address, the private IP address is 172.31.56.40. Here it is 172.31.56.40. One way of connecting the instance. Let me disconnect it, remove it, and let me connect it now through my terminal window. So here I go. Now I write here sudo SSH. I want to get into secure shell, and this is the public IP address, and I'm going to say -i EC2 -user, which is the username of the machine, which is on public IP 52.3.248.205, and the name of the key was linkey.pem. Make sure you are in the same folder where the key is, or you have to give the path to your folder. Here it is, linkey.pem. Oh, sorry, my bad. Linkey. ls-l. Here it is, linkey.pem. So with up arrow we can go back to the previous commands. EC2-user 52.3, see typo error. Why? Click on connect. Here is another way. I can copy it from here, which is same thing. It doesn't matter, but anyway, I have written the same command. I'll explain you. You can even write the domain name at the back, but even if you don't write it, it should work. Enter. And now I'm connected to the machine. Now see here, I'm connected to the machine, and this is my private IP address, which is here. If you go and have a look at it, instances, and this is my private IP address, which is here, 172.31.56.40. and if I click on ls-l, this is empty machine. If I want to update it, sudo yum update -y, this machine will be updated. So your machine somewhere on internet which you have created on AWS cloud is now getting created, and it is updated to the latest file system. So this is a simple way to create a Linux based machine, and if you want, you can do whatever you want in this machine. You have a storage of size 8 GB, and if you want, you can add more storage to it, and we will be talking about more storage and converting this machine into a web server in our next video. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video.